this is how this verse reads with the Greek verbs, the tense, voice, and mood inserted into this verse. He that doeth, or he's carrying out or executing truth as a continuous thing, has at that time come to the light, that his deeds or his inner doing or his source may be made manifest, that they are wrought or they are carried out in God. You know, that's the true source. That this comes out from God. So John 3:21 shows us something about the light. He that comes to the light, he that does truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be manifested and shown that they are, or they have God as their source. Now, back to 1 John 1:6. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. Now, I would like you to stop and read this verse, because this may be a shock to you, because sometimes as Christians, we read over a verse and we don't really sit there and meditate upon it and take our time and let the Lord teach us what the Word is saying. We want to speed read. You know, the Bible is not a novel that you can just sit down and read in an evening. You know, you need to stop and take your time and read the verse. It's not how many verses you can read in a year, go through the Bible in a year, but it's what God can teach you from a few verses maybe that is applicable to you, that can come into your heart and change you for all eternity. Not how many verses or chapters or books you can read in a year. But let's read this again. If we say that we have fellowship with him, John saying, and walk in darkness, John is saying that the Christian can walk in darkness. Now, he is not saying that these Christians are not saved. See, don't change the verse. See, Christians associate darkness with being unsaved, and of course that does apply, but that is not always accurate. He is saying that a Christian can walk in darkness. And he says, if we say, so John is writing to Christians, and he includes himself in this phrase. The Christian can be walking in darkness and think that they have fellowship with Christ. Now, this is a strange thing, and it's not something that's normally taught. But John says it, it's in the Bible, and I believe it. See, everyone views things, you know, from their own perspective, and they think that they're correct and that they are in the light. But you know, in Luke 11:35, Jesus says this, take heed therefore that the light which is in thee be not darkness. So one of the most dangerous things to the Christian is to think that you are spiritually where you are not. Someone once said to me, well, David sinned, he committed adultery with Bathsheba, and he recovered. And they assumed that they were spiritually where David was. And what they were trying to do was justify the adultery that they were living in or wanted to live in. And that statement that they made, well, David, you know, he committed adultery with Bathsheba and recovered. That statement shows that they were in darkness. They were a Christian, yes, but they were walking in darkness. Remember, what I understand and what I am are different. See, what you can understand and perceive from the Bible is different than what you are. And you can find that in 1 Corinthians 13 too. So Jesus says in Luke 11:35, take heed therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness. And take heed in the Greek means to contemplate, to direct your attention to observe. And this is very interesting because those two English words, take heed, are translating a Greek verb that is in the command form. So he is saying to the hearers, or he's commanding them to take heed, therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness. Now, this light within would be an ungodly, or better said, would be an impure light, or if you will, a tainted light, something assumed to be godly light. That's why Jesus is saying, take heed. Jesus is telling them how this supposed light is not godly light. And so he goes on, well actually the verse before that, Luke 11:34, the light of the body is the eye, therefore when thy eye is single, thy whole body is full of light, but when thy eye is evil, thy body also is full of darkness. The eye is the light of the body, and if your eye is single, or if your eye is pure, light will enter the heart. Remember that true light is gathered by you or by whomever. It is collected, if you will, in purity. The word single, if thy eye be single, in the Greek means clear. The eye is to be focused upon that which is pure, see, or clear. That which is gathered in unrighteousness, in other words, where the person's focus is not pure, that may be considered light. A person may think it's light. That's why the false prophets are false, because their impurity in gathering light. Their hearts are impure, and when they gather this light, the false prophets think that it is the pure light, and because their hearts are tainted and impure, that affects the light, and it becomes polluted. Those in cults read the Bible just like you and I do, the same Bible, but they gather darkness from the same scriptures that we read. And if you've ever talked to or had to dispute with those that are in some of the cults, they will use a scripture, and the whole time they use the scripture, there's darkness there. There's no light that they're bringing forth because they are not in the light. But yet they gather from the same source as the Christian, from the Bible, from the words in the Bible. But they suppose that that which they gathered from the Bible is light, but in effect, it isn't. In Matthew 6:23, but if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. Now that's interesting. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Now an example of an evil eye, like he says here, but if thine eye be evil, would be having anything against another brother. So that if you have something, for example, that you have something against your brother, and you think that you can hold on to that, and that doesn't affect you, you're vastly wrong. The Lord would have you to make things right with your brother, not only for his benefit, but for your benefit.